A long time ago, when I was a young and foolish man, I was exploring a lot of different spiritual paths. And I was Christian, and I was a spiritualist, and I was a follower of Carlos Castaneda, and I read the Orders of the Golden Dawn, which was a spiritualist group in the late 1800s. And I spent a lot of time out in the desert meditating and exploring and looking for spiritual experiences. And there was only one time when something happened to me that seemed unexplainable. I want to tell you the story, and I have no explanation for it. Probably about 1975, 76, I went to a seance out in the Lower Valley, which was held by an elderly gentleman named Tom Perkins, a former rodeo cowboy and a former stuntman in Western movies, and a carpenter, and a spiritualist and a dowser of treasure and water. He had invited us, a medium from Juarez, to come and do her thing for us. So we all gathered in a circle. Half the people were with her group from Juarez, and the other half of us were our little group of spiritualists that met every week and did spiritual things. So the medium was sitting in the center, and we were all in a circle around her, and I was sitting in a chair, and I was praying my usual prayer. My prayer was, let me see the truth in this. You know, I don't want to be deceived. If my illusions need to be punctured, then puncture them, but let me see the truth. So about that time, I looked at the front door of Tom's house. We were in the living room, and a shadow came through the door. It was in the shape of a man, but it was as if it were the shadow of a man, because it had no depth. It only had width and height, and it was the dark silhouette of a man, as if it had been cut out in black paper. And this silhouette thing came through the door, passed through the solid door, and sort of shimmered over, moving in a peculiar fishy kind of way, like it was swimming through the air, shimmered over to the medium. And then it was as if the black thing, the silhouette, went into the medium through her stomach somehow. I had the feeling at the time that it was sucked in through her navel. Don't know why I thought that. And the moment that I saw this dark shape go into her, the medium jumped up and started yelling and hollering, and was obviously in great distress. And her people, the people that had come with her, were all around her, patting her, trying to calm her down and sit her down and get things back under control. But she wouldn't have none of it. She was hysterical, with anxiety or something, I don't know what. Then my wife at the time, a lovely young lady named Rhonda, who has since passed away, who was a very spiritual gal and did some, well, that's another story. But she came over to where this crowd of people was around the medium, and she reached out her hand and she brushed the back of the medium's neck and went like that, like she was blowing something out of her hands. Well, the moment she did that, the medium slumped back down in the chair, exhausted, and stopped yelling. And then, after about 5 seconds, the medium looked around, jumped up, ran out the door, opened the door, ran out the door, got in her car and drove off. And her people rode off behind her, and we never saw her again.
So, that's the entire experience? What?
Well,
okay, sorry.
That's okay. There's a little more I want to share.
Okay.
It wasn't until she drove off that I kind of shook myself awake and realized that I had seen something very odd. Up until that time, I just was sitting there passively accepting what I was seeing. So I asked my wife, why did you do that thing to calm the medium down? My wife said, well, I don't know, it just seemed like the right thing to do. Later, I thought, well, this is an important event, I need to document it or understand it somehow. So I called everybody else who was in the room, and I asked them what they saw. None of them had seen what I did. and none of them had seen my wife reach through the group of people and brush this thing somehow out of the medium. Now I am an atheist, and I don't believe in any supernatural non-material world. So, but I have this conflicting memory that I cannot explain. The only possible explanation is that I'm lying, or it's a false memory that has somehow been implanted in me that never really happened.
But you don't believe that, right?
No,
it's deeply true.
I don't, because I remember it very clearly. But I have no explanation for what I saw. Now, after that, I thought, finally, I have the gift. I have vision. I can see things that the others cannot see. I am the gifted one. But nothing else has ever happened to me like that in the 30 years since.
Have you ever thought there was some sort of trick, some sort of magic trick that would have happened, but then nobody else saw it but you?
No one saw it. No one saw it but me. My wife didn't see the thing come through the door. Neither did anyone else.
Okay, I have to ask, were you under the influence of any intoxicating substance?
Maybe I was.
Oh.
But the problem, and I thought about that too, the problem with that is, if I was hallucinating this event, why did the medium start yelling when my hallucination went into her? And she was obviously truly yelling because her group gathered around her to try and calm her down. And if I was hallucinating, then why did the medium stop yelling and screaming when my wife brushed that thing off the back of her neck, and everyone agreed that the medium was yelling and hollering for 4 or 5 minutes, and then she slumped down in her chair, kind of stunned, and then she got up and went straight out of the house without saying a word and drove off.
That is amazing. I would not be exactly a non-believer. I would say agnostic. Like, what the hell was that? You don't know.
I got no clue. I don't know if that thing was real, if it was a spirit, if it had once been in a body, or if it was some other category of thing that we have no word for.